Ding dong, the Switch is dead, or at least some people would have you believe that. So if you're not sure what the fuss is all about, yesterday Valve announced the Steamdeck, got that right this time, which is essentially a handheld gaming console some people think is going to rival the Switch. I don't really think that's the case. As you can see, the Switch is kind of small and lightweight, and the focus of the Switch really seems to be more on-the-go gaming and for pushing Nintendo first-party products. That's not really what the Steam Deck is about. The Steam Deck is essentially a handheld PC, and first impressions, I was a bit skeptical, if I'm honest. I've had various pieces of Valve hardware in the past. The Vive, for example, that was in partnership with HTC, was great. The Steam controller, not as much, to be honest. And that's where my concern really is. The controller itself was kind of bad, loud and clacky, and for the kinds of environments that I'll be playing this thing in, that's the last thing you want. You don't want to be sat next to somebody on a sofa and all they can hear is clack, 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 clack. So hopefully they've finally got that right. Given how good the index controllers are, I don't really see that as a problem. So, cheat sheet, let's look at the specs. So we're looking at a 4-core AMD Zen 2 with 8 RDNA 2 CUs, 16 gig of DDR5 RAM, so that's going to be amazingly fast. And then for storage, we have 3 options: 64 gig eMMC, or a 256 or 512 gig NVMe drive, with the higher being the faster drive. There's also a high-speed micro SD slot for your own extra expansion storage, but obviously that won't be anywhere near the speeds of the NVMe. Other basic specs: it's a 720p screen, it's 1280 by 800, it's got 400 nits of brightness, 60 Hz, so the kind of thing you'd expect from a handheld, and it has a 40 watt hour battery life. So they rate it as 2 to 8 hours. I think the example that was given in an interview on IGN was 4 hours playing Portal 2. That seems reasonable, and in some scenarios you'll sit there with a little power cable in anyway. It's USB-C, not Thunderbolt, but DisplayPort, and there's a dock coming, but they say any third-party dock will work. So all in all, it seems pretty positive. The idea is you can play your Steam library on it, or you can stream from a gaming PC in your house, or if you want, you can put your own OS or emulators, you know, anything you can put on a regular PC will go on this. Obviously, they're using their own SteamOS. I was under the impression that SteamOS was essentially dead because there's been no updates for about 2 years and it was still using Debian. But it turns out they've moved it on to Arch Linux. There's a new 3.0 release coming soon. They've said third parties can make their own Steam Decks if they want using this OS. So I think what they're wanting to do is push the ecosystem rather than the item itself, which is great. It's great for Steam, but they're also allowing access to say the Epic Game Store or anything else you want, because essentially it's a PC. In fact, their answer to most questions of this kind were, it's a PC. So pre-orders open today. I'm going to try and get the mid-tier. I think the entry level, which is obviously priced to look like the Switch, is £350 or $399. The mid-tier is something like £459, and the top tier price is £569. And for that, you also get an anti-glare screen. That's a bit of an investment for a first generation device. You never know with these things what kind of lifespan you can expect, or even if they'll succeed at all. So I think the mid-tier is a good entry option, and the one I'll go for, because obviously I want the NVMe speed. So yeah, it's an interesting time. It could be good for emulators. I know there are people saying that you could run a Switch emulator and run Switch games on it, but I mean, realistically, we're kind of talking piracy there at that point. You could just play these games on an actual Switch, which are available from as low as $199. So I'm kind of excited about this anyway. I know there's other YouTubers who are a lot more excited than I am. I'm always a little bit wary about these kind of things, but I can see Valve staying behind this particular thing. In the past, they've been pushing towards Linux gaming. They started using SteamOS and Debian and pushing for games that support Ubuntu. And over the last few years, they've been using Proton with Linux to get Windows games working essentially under Wine, but with some refinement. So this is a good time, I think, for this product. They've set up everything they need for it to work. They've set up Linux, they've set up Proton, they've got the manufacturing for the physical devices, we've got partnerships with AMD for the new chips and the GPU, we've got the new DDR5 RAM. So I think we're at a time now where this product could work, and this is a product I probably will use. This will actually allow me to play my Steam library either from my PC or on the device directly. So I think I am possibly the target audience for this device. And the other cool thing about this as well, especially at the price point, is it's essentially a gaming PC for people who don't have them already. You could set this up on a dock with a monitor and a keyboard and a mouse, or you could play it handheld, and you've got a fairly decent gaming PC. The 720p mode is just right for the size of the screen, and the games will play wonderfully on it. So yeah, I think this is going to be a great device, and I'm really looking forward to it. Somewhat rambling from me, but I think this is going to be a good first generation device. All of the things are set up nicely for it, and hopefully I can get in on the pre-orders later today. Anyone else with around £450 to spend, I'd recommend it as well. You alright, Kraken? What do you think of the Steam Deck? You want to play Steam Deck? No Steam Deck? You'd rather play the Switch? You can't play Fortnite. Why do you always want to play Fortnite? Don't you want to grow? Have a Breath of the Wild. Alright, Smash Brothers. Okay, fine. I'm not particularly optimistic about Stadia's future.
Sorry, I didn't understand.
Clack, 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 clack.